All right, let's get down to business now. We're over to Mike Eppel at 680, and we're talking about some companies' stocks already hitting some highs after being named by the government on who the suppliers will be. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Melanie. We're looking at the cannabis sector on Bay Street today because these stocks, which have been massive movers on the market over the past year in anticipation of legalized cannabis sales coming up on October 17th, many of them hit record highs yesterday, and this morning could be movers again because the Ontario Cannabis Store, operated by the provincial government, has announced its list of 26 suppliers in advance of legal sales online coming up October 17th, as opposed to the physical retail outlets, which will open April next year. But many of these are already the biggest in the industry, some of the smaller players too, but it'll be interesting to see if investors continue to buy up these stocks. For example, shares of Aurora Cannabis in Monday's trade on the TSX jumped 17%, and that was before the OCS announcement. Canopy Growth, which of course last week was in the spotlight because of that massive investment made by Constellation Brands, the big liquor company. Canopy shares jumped 10% yesterday to a record north of $49 per share, and that gives the company an overall market value north of $10 billion. Huge money in that particular component on Bay Street right now. Interesting to see the TSX yesterday only up by 7 points, as the cannabis stocks are still a fairly small component of the overall benchmark index. Got U.S. President Donald Trump moving the markets again this morning. He's been commenting about a number of issues, market-related, one being the possibility that the U.S. Federal Reserve will be raising interest rates again next month. Donald doesn't want to see that necessarily, because if you start to tap on the brakes with higher interest rates in the economy, that could damage the intentions or plans for the upcoming midterm election in November. So U.S. President Donald Trump doesn't want the Fed to raise interest rates next month. Now it's apparently or supposedly supposed to be a body that is free from political influence. It runs the banking industry. It's not actually under U.S. government purview, but it'll be interesting to see if there's any response from U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who will be speaking on Friday of this week in a keynote address in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. The U.S. dollar is down in early trading action this morning. Canadian dollar seeing a little bit of a benefit from all of this at 76 3/4 cents U.S. And from the world of music, big money to be made still in album sales. The Recording Industry Association of America announcing that the Eagles' greatest hits album 1971 to 1975, which was released in 1976, is now the top-selling album of all time, 38 times platinum, 38 million copies sold, surpassing Michael Jackson's Thriller. And number 3 on the list, also an Eagles album, Hotel California. And considering that nowadays the kids today don't buy albums, which is why you have to pay $55 for a T-shirt. That's it from here.
And you know those albums get so played, that's why they need to replace them.
Well, and the
They've actually been bought by only
true.
1 million people, played 38 million.
Think about that. But the Eagles are still on tour, of course, but nevertheless, 38 million albums sold.
It's insane.
Quite remarkable.
It's 38 million more than you. Mike, thanks very much.
That's very true.